Yours truly, Brennan Thompson, is back to take a look at the magnificent world of Bond. James Bond. It's amazes me that this franchise has been going on for the past 60 years, and to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the James Bond franchise, I decided to take a look at a particular Bond film, which is one of my personal favorites, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will say the same thing. GoldenEye, which was directed by Martin Campbell and starred Pierce Brosnan in his very first outing as James Bond. This is easily one of the best in the entire franchise, and it's easily Pierce Brosnan's best outing as James Bond. Because despite the fact that I honestly think that he's one of the best actors to ever play Bond, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will also agree with me on this, his films after GoldenEye have never been as successful as this film. This film blew people away. Not only was this one of the best Bond films, this film also got a video game, which a lot of fans also loved. And I remember playing this on the Nintendo 64, and I loved the shit out of this game. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people will agree with me on that as well. I mean, a lot of us love GoldenEye, and I'm really excited to be talking about it. But before I discuss my thoughts on GoldenEye, I have my good friend Ryan from Ryan Cam collaborating with me on GoldenEye. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really happy to have him back on this channel to talk about this film. So before I discuss my thoughts on the film, it's your go, Ryan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Cam. I want to thank Brevin for having me back on his channel. This time to talk about GoldenEye. Not only is this regarded as the best Pierce Brosnan Bond movie, but one of the best Bond movies, period. I love me the Bond franchise, so I jumped at this opportunity. By the time GoldenEye came out, the Bond franchise was in a weird place. The previous Bond, Timothy Dalton, was well regarded, but by the time that he was set to do number 3, he was said to be too old for the character, and so he retired. And brought in for the role was Pierce Brosnan, who had been mostly a TV actor. And, well, let's just say the Bond franchise had lost a lot of its luster, thanks to some very dumb entries from the late Roger Moore, may he rest in peace. It's pretty safe to say that Martin Campbell has got to be the best Bond movie director of all time. He's brought the franchise back from the grave, not once, but twice. GoldenEye was the first time, Casino Royale was the second time. As far as GoldenEye goes, I don't think this is in my top 5 of Bond, but it's definitely in my top 10. It certainly is one of the best entries in the entire series. This movie may have one of my favorite opening acts of all time, from where we see Bond jump off of the dam to where he gets into the secret base with one of my personal favorite Bond one-liners of all time. Oh, I'm sorry. Forgot to knock. And then he punches the dude out on the toilet. It's great. Then he meets up with the villain of the movie, Alex, played by Sean Bean, and they have a fight, or not they have a fight, but they fight off against some Russians because Alec was originally a 00, but then he seemingly dies, and MI6 believes he's dead, so they leave him for dead, but he comes back with a vengeance. And then Bond makes a triumphant escape out of there, which transitions into one of my personal favorite Bond-themed songs, GoldenEye by Tina Turner. If you've never listened to this song, listen to it. It is phenomenal, and if you have, you're probably humming it in your head right now. I know I am. This would turn out to be Pierce Brosnan's best outing as Bond, and honestly, just from an acting and a character standpoint, this is the best that Brosnan would ever look as the character. I honestly think that Tomorrow Never Dies is kind of underrated, especially the Jonathan Pryce character as the villain, with the whole give the people what they want and the news mogul kind of thing, especially in the year of our Lord 2022. But GoldenEye is definitely Brosnan's best Bond movie by a significant margin. Sean Bean was really good as the villain, and it's one of those villains that really feels very grounded, because the best Bond movies are very grounded ones. They're not like, say, the ones that are in the castles and have the over-the-top plans. Even though one of my favorite Bond villains of all time is Art Goldfinger, I know that there's no real Bond villain or no realistic villain that would want to sabotage all of the gold supply in America, especially not with a convoluted plan like that. The best Bond villains are guys like Alec Trevelyan, Le Chiffre, very grounded feeling villains. And that goes double for Alec Trevelyan, played by Sean Bean. Yes, he does die in the movie because I don't know who Sean Bean pissed off in another life, but it's his lot in his acting career to die in everything. Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, this. Really, the only thing he never died in was National Treasure. But even though you don't agree with the actions, you kind of understand where he's coming from. It's relatable, but you don't really side with him, if that makes any sense. Famke Janssen was good in her villain role as well. Seeing her just be turned on 24/7 and be aroused by weaponry is just kind of fun to me. The main Bond girl is played by, and I'm going to read her name off of IMDb so I say it right, Izabella Scorupco. Probably butchered that, but I'm sorry. But she is really good in here too. But really, the guy who nearly steals the whole thing is Alan Cumming. Just this character is just he's so much fun. He chews every piece of scenery that he has, and it's just delightful to see with his whole "Yes, I am invincible" to his death. It's one of the best Bond villain deaths in this entire series. It's so satisfying. This movie really works because it has a plot that is very grounded and focused, but it never forgets to have fun. I mean, Pierce Brosnan Bond drives a tank in this movie, for God's sake. So this movie is off of its nut at times. However, it always, with how crazy it gets, it always has a main through line of Bond needs to stop the Russians from getting this satellite up and running and melting everything on Earth. Or the Bank of England. And at the end of the day, GoldenEye is comfortably one of the very best James Bond movies we will probably ever get. Thank you so much, Brevin, for having me on your channel. Back to you, my friend.
So before this film even came out, fans had to wait 6 years for a new Bond film after the previous film, License to Kill, which I honestly think is a very underrated Bond film, and it was definitely Timothy Dalton's best outing as James Bond, even though I did like The Living Daylights. There was a whole lot of legal issues concerning the James Bond rights, and by the time all that came to an end, Timothy Dalton decided he didn't want to play Bond anymore because he felt like he was too old to play the character, which I think is a huge shame because I was a big fan of his interpretation of the character. So Pierce Brosnan stepped in, even though, like, at the time, like, sometime in the 80s after Roger Moore's run as the character came to an end and with A View to a Kill, he was considered for the role of Bond for The Living Daylights, but due to his commitment to the TV show Remington Steele, he wasn't available to play Bond at the time, so Timothy Dalton stepped in, and after Timothy Dalton left the role of Bond, Pierce Brosnan stepped in, and he does an awesome job as James Bond in this film. How the film opens with the dam jump sequence, that is gold to my eyes. And after Bond infiltrates this facility, I've always loved this line.
Beg your pardon? Forgot to knock.
This film also introduces 006, Alec Trevelyan, played by the talented Sean Bean. We all know this guy because of things like Game of Thrones and, of course, Lord of the Rings. He's also pretty good in this film as well. It's definitely one of the well-casted Bond films. I mean, outside of Brosnan and Bean, who are really great in this film, there's also Natalia, who's played by Izabella Scorupco. I hope I pronounce her name right. She's definitely one of the better Bond girls in the entire franchise. There's also Famke Janssen's Xenia Onatopp, and to say that this bitch is a sadist is an understatement. The fact that she crushes men with her thighs just for the sole purpose of getting some kink, she definitely sells that, for sure. One of the best decisions ever made for the entire franchise was casting Judy Dench as M. She is fantastic as this character in both the Brosnan films and in the Daniel Craig films. I mean, she brought so much to the character of M, and this version of M does not have time for Bond shit. I like how she's like, if you don't think I have the balls to send a man out there to die, you're wrong. So yeah, this is a woman who does not have time for Bond shit. And I like how Alex Trevelyan isn't like one of those Bond villains who's like a cat-stroking evil maniacal genius like Blofeld. You do understand his motivations, and he's definitely one of the best Bond villains, despite the fact that he's a former 00 agent, and despite the fact that he was once a close friend of Bond. You do understand his motivations. I mean, why he's so angry with the British government because of their involvement with his parents' death, why he wants to use the GoldenEye satellite to destroy London's economy. I mean, you do understand his motivations, and I think that's what makes a good Bond villain. You do understand their motivations, and like not and ones that are like far better than the like evil like geniuses who want to take over or destroy the world. The action sequences, for the most part, are impressive. Everything from the facility opening to the tank chase to the finale, it's all amazing to look at. I mean, very well shot, excellent stunt work. Everything about it is just, it's action movie gold in my eyes. Everything that goes on in the finale is just incredible. With Bond's last confrontation with Xenia Onatopp, and after her death, I love the line that Bond gives, saying, "She always does enjoy a good squeeze." That is just hilarious to me. There's another moment in particular that I love, and it's when Alan Cummins' character, Boris, starts clicking Bond's pen, with Bond knowing that pen is a class 4 grenade. It's a very suspenseful moment, and with when Bond like flings it out of Boris's hands and causes a massive explosion, very awesome. I also love the final fight between Bond and Trevelyan. It's shot well, it's very well edited, and everything when they're fighting on this antenna, and when Bond gets the better of Trevelyan and has him, and he is like holding on to his leg and everything, and I love the final lines that these two characters give to each other when Alan asks, "For England, James?" And Bond, coldly looking at Trevelyan, he just says, "No. For me." And he just lets him go and lets him fall to his death. I mean, and he doesn't die after he hits the ground. But when the antenna falls on him, that's when you're like, holy shit, talk about like double whammy. And with Boris thinking that he survived and shouting, "Yes, I am invincible!" only to be frozen with liquid nitrogen, is so hilarious. GoldenEye is easily one of the best Bond films. I love this film. I love Pierce Brosnan as Bond. I love the rest of the cast. I love the action sequences. I love how beautifully shot they are. I love everything about this film. The music, the amazing song by Tina Turner. It's no wonder why Martin Campbell is one of the best directors for the Bond films. I mean, that's my personal opinion anyway, after movies like this and Casino Royale. He definitely seems like to be the go-to guy to reinvent Bond, because it's clear that he understands the character and has a passion for this franchise. And I hope that we get him again in the future, because I would definitely would want another Martin Campbell directed Bond film, because why the hell not? He made 2 awesome Bond films, so I need that, please, and thank you. There's just a lot to love about GoldenEye. It's a masterpiece in my eyes. So that means GoldenEye gets an A+.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
So what did y'all think of the film? Let me know in the comments below. I'm going to be starting my Halloween special really soon. I really cannot wait to do that. I'm going to be having a lot of fun talking about different types of movies this month. It's going to be exciting. So guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Looking forward to doing more videos really soon. And if you want my thoughts on old or new films, of course, you know where to find me.